I, 27 female, gave birth to my and my husband's 31 first child almost 2 months ago. She's a perfect little girl and I was so excited to have my family meet her. I have 3 older sisters who all have kids as well. A fun tradition that my family does is to have a small get-together once the baby is about 2 or 3 months old. We don't announce the baby's name until after the birth to make it a surprise. At the little party, we give the parents a bunch of little gifts with the new baby's name. My grandmother always quilts a beautiful baby blanket and embroiders the baby's name. She's done this for all my sisters and cousins. The issue is the name my husband and I chose for our daughter. For context, my grandmother has a unique history with her name. She was born Lucille, but from the time she was 8, she told everyone she met that her name was Barbara. She did this for years until even her family called her Barbara. She even got her name legally changed. As a child, I always asked her why she changed it. She said she liked Barbara better. It became a family joke, but she never seemed upset about it and always laughed with us. My husband's grandmother raised him from when he was a baby to when she passed away when he was 19. Her favourite celebrity was Lucille Ball. She and my husband used to watch I Love Lucy all the time together. He misses her very much and said he would love to honour her somehow. Her name was Mary, but we chose to have that as our daughter's middle name. We decided that Lucy is a name we both loved and would honour his grandmother and maybe make mine chuckle a bit. After I gave birth, my husband and I were FaceTiming my entire family when we announced the name. A few of my relatives laughed and said it was cute, but my grandma was dead silent. When I asked her what was wrong, she demanded to know why I chose Lucy. I was shocked and confused. I began to try and explain, but she suddenly hung up. This significantly dampened the mood. My grandma wouldn't answer any calls from me afterward. I asked my oldest sister and she said my grandma was offended and thought we were mocking her. She said she's not coming to the party in a few weeks to meet my daughter in person and that she's not giving the baby quilt to us unless we apologise and change our daughter's name. I don't know why it's escalated so much. My grandma has always been kind. I'm still trying to figure out what to do. Births in my family are always celebrated and happy events, but this has ruined it. I almost feel like some of my relatives are ignoring me because they don't want to pick sides, but I don't even understand why there's a fight. Dealing with this, along with my newborn, has been incredibly stressful. My family is puzzled as well, but most of them are saying I shouldn't have chosen a name I knew my grandmother disliked or at least asked her about it first. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You can name your child whatever you want. Honestly, for your grandma to make such a big deal over something that has zero significance to anyone but her, to the point of punishing you and her grandchild, is malevolent, childish, and downright mean. You have 2 choices. Change your child's name to appease a woman who won't explain and won't be around long, or name your child what you want and not have a quilt or goodwill from your grandma. It could be that your grandma will settle down in time, but perhaps she won't ever. So I have a similar story, but it's about my name. My grandpa had a sister who'd been abused by their parents and suffered terrible mental health, and my grandpa cared for her until he had to go to World War II. She chose to go away while he was on duty. He never said her name again. My grandma never knew she ever existed. It was simply too painful for him. Well, I was born many decades later and my parents tell my grandparents my name, which by chance is his sister's name, and my grandpa had what looked like a stroke and went catatonic and was in the hospital. The story comes out, but by this time, my name is announced, everyone knows it, etc. Grandpa was in his 80s, he couldn't really process his trauma. The workaround in my family was my grandpa chose a name for me. It was added as a middle name and everyone on my mum's side of the family called me by that name in Grandpa's presence. When I was little, I was told my mum's family used my Norwegian name, while my dad's family used my Irish name. When I was a bit older, I was told the full story. Grandpa and I were very close, and although he never called me by my name, when he was dying and mentally not all there, he called me Little Bird and Darling Sister. So while he couldn't bring himself to say her name, the fact that I had it made him identify with me in a special way. Honestly, no idiots here, because it's clear your grandma has some deep trauma, but you did nothing wrong. Damn mate, that cuts deep. Hugs to you. It's a heart-wrenching story with a good solution for the OP. Use Mary or another name till Grams passes. My own grandmother didn't speak to my mother for 6 months over my name. Sorry to hear of the situation for you. I can only say time will heal it in the long run. My wife and I have been married for about 2 years and have been renting our entire time together. We've talked about buying a house together in the future, but the problem is that she can't save money. We live in a 2-bit apartment because she needs one as her walk-in closet. She has the newest iPhone, Apple Watch, AirPods and AirPods Max. She just bought herself a Tesla while I drive a 2015 Honda. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. In fact, I'm perfectly okay with her spending her money because we're both young and she deserves to enjoy her life. Recently, her aunt announced that she'll be moving into a retirement community and will be selling her house. Since they're close, she offered to sell it to us before listing it. She wants $75,000 down and will finance the purchase for us. Honestly, it's a good deal, but the problem is my wife has less than $500 saved, so I'll have to pay the entire $75,000. The monthly payments for the house will be more than our rent, so I'll have to cover the difference as my wife can't pay more. Then there's the yearly $6,500 in property tax, which I will have to pay for myself. Lastly, the house needs a new roof, which will cost $18,000. She and her aunt were talking like it was a done deal, but all I see is a bunch of money I have to pay out all on my own. I told her Friday that we should pass on this one. She kept saying what a great deal it was and that we'd always planned on getting a house to start a family. After hours of discussions, I got tired and told her we would get a house when she got past her spending phase and started the saving phase. I pointed out all the above-mentioned costs and she was hurt. She cried and said that we were supposed to be a team, then went to bed. She hasn't spoken to me since Friday night, and we're supposed to go to her parents for dinner tonight. Her aunt will be there and I know the house thing will come up. Am I wrong for not wanting to buy the house by myself? Edit, I'm 29 and she's 25. We both work full-time. She makes about $85,000 and I make about $150,000. Our rent is $1,300 a month. A damn Tesla with $500 to her name? For the love of God, open your eyes. Sir, there is no other way to say this. You have chosen a wife very, very, very imprudently. This woman will lead you to financial ruin before you can even believe it. You're enabling someone who thinks she's entitled to live beyond her means at any cost, even if that means she'll drag you down with her. This is someone who doesn't understand the concept of self-regulation or telling herself no. She lives for instant gratification. You will end up in a mountain of bills you'll never be able to dig yourself out of. You will be a slave to creditors, collections, agencies, etc. That will be your fate. Do with that what you will. This. OP, also please keep checks on her debts. A debt taken by your SO during marriage will become your debt. For some reason, I feel she's headed in that path to fund her lifestyle if not already there. Some people don't reach the saving phase ever as they're very materialistic and connect happiness with possessions. It won't change ever. We're supposed to be a team. Look in the mirror, lady. Her out-of-control spending has made her not a team player. She's not mature enough for the responsibility of owning a home. Someone who pays extra rent for a 2-bedroom apartment to use one of the bedrooms as a walk-in closet is not in a financially healthy headspace. If your wife wants the house, she can sell a Tesla to pay her share of the down payment. Update: am I the idiot for not wanting to buy a house with my wife? Her aunt got several quotes on the roof. The roof is old, not damaged, so insurance won't cover it. I've never owned a house, so I don't know how it works, but that's what she told us. There are other things the house needs, but the roof is the immediate need. The insurance guy said it needs to be done before the current coverage runs out, and they offer new coverage. Aunt went to a realtor and had the house appraised. She offered to sell to us below the appraised price and finance without any interest, which is why I said it was a good deal. Her aunt wants $75,000 down because she will use that money to move into the retirement community. She said the house was appraised at $400,000 but will sell it to us for $350,000 and wants us to pay it off in 10 years. The monthly payments will be about $2,300 a month. My wife and her aunt came to these figures based mainly on how long her aunt expects to be active and wants to use the money to travel and enjoy life. At dinner, my wife and her family told me what a great deal this is. I have zero experience buying a house, but I didn't really argue with them. I calmly told them that I wanted an independent appraisal so that we could have the full financial information. They said the realtor already told them how much it's worth and they have the tax appraisal. As some of you advised, I stuck to my guns and said I wanted a professional and independent appraiser. I also told them I would call my older brother and have him fly out here to help because he has experience while I have none. They agreed and things went smoothly after that. We're sleeping in the same bed again and she's happy I'm seriously considering the house. Tomorrow I will find an appraiser and we'll see what happens. OP, please be careful. I suggest getting a post-nuptial agreement if you don't already have a prenup. Your wife and her family are giving major red flags. If you want to buy a house, don't go for the aunt's house because if the roof is so old it needs fixing, then a lot of other things also need fixing. They are giving major red flags. Run! Run from this deal. That house will be the death of your finances and you. My ex and I have a tween-year-old boy going through some things. We found a therapist and we've been seeing her for a couple of years. It hasn't been life-changing for me in any way. In fact, it became more of a pointless chore, like making your bed or folding your underwear. I might have gotten a few things out of it, but I wouldn't do it again. A few weeks ago, I told our therapist that it's bizarre not to have to worry about money for the first time in my life. I make good money and don't have many bills. I'm saving like $1,000 a month. Last week, the therapist asked me if I could start making a co-payment. I don't have a co-payment because my insurance covers 100% of therapy sessions. I explained that to her. She said that was true, but maybe I could start paying like 20% cash because she's not making a lot with what my insurance pays her, like a tip. I was at a loss for words. I said, and I suppose this has no relation to my telling you that I had disposable income from a few weeks ago. She said, of course not. It was like she was asking for a raise, LOL. I said I'd think about it. I found nothing about tipping your therapist. I talked to my ex and said I was firing the therapist. She told me not to throw away 2 years of work and I said this therapist tried taking advantage of me. She offered to pay and I said I'm not stopping you, but I'm not doing the sessions anymore and neither is our son. The trust I had in our therapist is forever broken. I left a voicemail and text message explaining we didn't need services anymore. I haven't heard back. Guess what? Our lives didn't fall apart. And the therapist replied that I totally misunderstood this whole tip thing. Not the idiot, what the heck? That is wildly unethical. I absolutely would not trust her with the mental health of my child, much less myself. I contact your insurance company. They'll probably want to drop her entirely if they find out about this. This is a red flag. I have previously been financially exploited by a therapist, and a good provider would not do this to you. Deciding to raise their rates is one thing, but trying to trick you into a co-payment you didn't owe and asking for tips is going in the wrong direction. Don't discount your feelings of broken trust. It's kind of important on a foundational level. Yes, it does suck to have to look for a new therapist, but staying with one you don't trust is worse. So, of course, the therapist was unprofessional and this sounds like something to report. However, you saying, "we've been seeing," implying that this was your son's therapist. You make it all about you but leave out an important part. Your son. How does your son feel about this? Is he seeing another therapist? It sounds like you're probably an idiot to your son for not making reasonable arrangements to find another therapist who takes your insurance and supports him while he's going through some things. You don't sound like you even care about him. I hope your ex at least takes him to therapy if he needs it. When my dad proposed to my mom, my paternal grandparents, aka Dad's parents, gave him a ring from their family to propose to Mom. My grandparents adored my mom and saw her as a daughter. They had 4 boys and wanted to welcome her to the family with the ring. She treasured it, and before she died, she and they had discussed my grandparents keeping it safe for me. After my mom died, my dad remarried. His second wife was upset that she wasn't offered the ring like my mom was. My grandparents explained it was being kept safe for me, as the last owner had wanted her only child, aka me, to have it. My dad's wife came into the marriage with a daughter, just like Dad had me. I was 9 and she was 7. We're now 22, me, and 20, her. My stepsister got engaged a few weeks ago. Her boyfriend proposed without a ring because he wanted her to pick one out. She decided to ask Dad if she could have the family engagement ring. He asked my grandparents and they said no. His wife told my grandparents it might not be me, but the ring would still be going to their granddaughter. They said it wasn't the granddaughter it was intended for, and my stepsister wasn't my mom's daughter. Therefore, she would not be entitled to it, and my mom would have hated to see it go to my stepsister. When speaking to my grandparents failed, my dad and his wife approached me. My stepsister was upset that they didn't overrule what my mom wanted. She has some abandonment issues. Her dad abandoned her, neither side of her biological family wanted her, and my grandparents and uncles are the only extended family she ever had. Still, she always felt like they favoured me because of how much they loved my mom and how often they spoke about her and about us, me and mom. Them turning her down really got her down. So my dad and his wife wanted me to make it up to her and wanted me to take the ring and then give it to her. My dad said it would mean so much to my stepsister, and while it would mean I wouldn't get that ring, I could still get another ring and it would make a family member happy. His wife said they both lived in my mom's shadow from day one, and this could be a time when they're not treated as secondary to my mom. She said her daughter always adored me and never saw me as a stepsister, and it hurt me that I never saw her as a sister. She said I could do this and make her feel loved like she deserves. I refused to give my stepsister the ring, and my dad and his wife told me I was being selfish and hurtful. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I'm confused about why your stepmom and stepsister are so invested in receiving this ring when they have no connection to it. The ring belonged to your mother, and she made it clear she would be handing it down to you. How bizarre that either of them would insist on taking that away from you, and it's even weirder that your father would go along with them. You've already answered them, and you need to stand your ground on this. There's no reason for them to guilt you into giving up something that has so much sentimental value for you, simply because they decided they should have it instead of you. They see it as a connection to my dad's line. I think it bothers his wife that my mom was loved and given a ring and trusted to decide what would happen next. She feels like her daughter is being treated unfairly. I think my stepsister views it as a symbol that she's their real granddaughter as much as I am, and wants to feel like they don't see us differently. Yep, it's a power play by your stepmother. She is determined to get a victory over a dead woman. Unfortunately, her daughter is caught in the middle and may have had her head filled by her mother. Tell your father that if it matters that much to him, he can buy her a ring, but you won't be handing over the heirloom your mother left you just to appease your stepmother's insecurity.